Hi there and welcome. I am Tricia Morris from Club Scrap, and this is the Shoreline Special Edition Page Kit Workshop. And if you are new, a special welcome to you. I might go a little bit fast for your taste out of the gates, but once you become proficient at our methods, you'll be able to keep up just fine. So just pause as much as needed as we get started. I've got my kit here and my instructions. These are printable. And so I'll set that aside, get rid of these goodies for now. And for you, I just recommend keeping those goodies right in the bag so they don't get misplaced or fall on the floor. And then take the remaining papers that were in your kit and we're gonna sort them in the order that we'll be working with them. So right off the top, I'm gonna grab what's called we're calling this the wave print because it's just the blues and then the white caps. I love how abstract these prints are. So the wave print, I'm gonna put that face down on my trimmer base, and the rest of the papers I'm holding upright so I can easily sift through them from the top edge. All right, then there should be another print in there, and this one we're calling this the shore print. Okay, so here we go. This has the shoreline on it, as you can see. Next, look for 2 of the teal planes. Now there are a total of 3, and make sure you're grabbing the teal and not the aqua. This is the deepest color in the set. Grab 2 of those. And then you're gonna find a green. The green is easy to miss because it's nice and bright, right? Then we've got a sheet of white plain. There's just one of them in there, and we need that one. It has a linen texture. So I'll put the linen texture face down. Next, let's find the aqua. Okay, so there are 2 sheets of aqua provided, and we're just gonna take one of them for now. Then 1 yellow. There are 3 totals, so let's grab a nice bright yellow here. For Cutaparts, those are gonna be probably toward the back of the stack. Find the one with the dots, that'll go face down, and then the other one that should be right next to it. Deb always collates those together in the stack. Now we're gonna find that other aqua, so I can see the darker teal and the brighter aqua. Go for the bright. The other shore print, a teal, that should be the only remaining. Then the other wave print, I'm putting that face down, of course, like the others. 2 green, and we'll end with 2 yellow. Now take the entire stack here and just flip it right back over to that wave print that we started with at the very beginning. And now I've got here, I'm not going to start out with it right away. I've got my trimmer and I have my accordion pocket file. If you're looking for a trimmer that you won't end up hating, I really recommend this Fisker's Guillotine if you don't already have it. And pick one up as soon as possible if you're wanting to get one from me. I'm having a hard time getting these into the warehouse, so make sure you have this trimmer while it's available. Okay, for starters, I'm just going to set the trimmer aside though, because we are going to be doing some tearing. All right, so you don't need to really measure. You're just going to tear, and I don't want you to be nervous about this process. It's pretty easy. And I'm looking at kind of an identifying area here. Do you see how you have the white? This would be the top, if we consider this the top. Along the contrast between this light blue and this medium blue here, that's my goal spot for tearing. So I am right-handed, I'm gonna pull toward me, and my goal is to sort of reveal that white edge of the paper as well. And I am tearing with the grain of the paper, so I get this nice clean line here with a perfect exposed edge. If that doesn't happen to you, don't worry about it. And then down here, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab along this dark blue area, and just kind of pull back, looking again for that nice torn edge. Beautiful. Now, all 3 of these pieces are going to be used in layouts 1 and 2. So with my accordion pocket file here, I'm just going to place these in pocket labeled 1 and 2. And when I do that, I'll do it at a side angle here so I can still see the numbers. Besides, this is only 12 inches wide, so is the paper, so don't try to jam it down in there. One last tear before we get out our trimmer. Now this one I'm going to shoot for kind of, here's that sand. I'm just going to try to take the sand and maybe a little bit of the blue off, okay? So there's really no science to this. Just go ahead and create a nice torn edge there. All right, this is used in pocket 3 and 4, so I'll just file that right away. Now I'm gonna get my trimmer, okay? So trimmer comes on the scene, take my accordion pocket file. Here's the lip on the front of it. And by the way, if you don't know what this is, or if you haven't made one, reach out to us at Club Scrap. I can help you get a kit that helps you make one. You have to make it yourself, but I will show you the way. Okay, so then this is just gonna sit right here and keep me organized. Now, the remaining portion of this can go into the trimmer. And we're gonna put that straight edge on the left, and we'll cut at 4 1/4. Then rotate this 4 1/4 inch piece. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2. Now notice, if you're new, making sure your paper is aligned up here and you're pushing down on this clear bar for every cut. And then slide down to 3 3/4. And again, you might be new to measuring. I always just find the whole number 3, and then if I say 3/4, I go to the left 3 vertical columns, and every line here vertically represents a quarter. So 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4. There you have it. Okay, now you've got 3 rectangles here, the same size, going into pocket 3 and 4. You do have a little, it's not a scrap though, it's a little piece going into 7 and 8. And then finally, this torn piece goes in 3 and 4. Okay, that's page 1 of our instructions. So we did this piece, and you can see that I do superimpose the artwork when applicable to those trimming diagrams. Now we have some boring trimming to do. Okay, let's start with this teal. Another nice warm up here. We're gonna go ahead and start at 6 inches. And again, when you're putting the paper in the trimmer base, just make sure it's level up here and that you're pushing down on that clear bar. Take this 6-inch piece and rotate it. And we'll cut now at 8 and then 4. Now, as you're trimming, unless I tell you to, leave everything lay where it lands so that we both are on the same wavelength. Gather up then the 3 4x6s you just made and put them all in pocket 1 and 2. And then next, I'm gonna take this piece, cut it a little differently. We're gonna go 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. All right, all 3 of these narrower pieces now go in 1 and 2 as well. And this long piece is used in pocket 3 and 4. And we'll grab the other sheet of teal. This time we're going to start at a 10 1/4, 7 1/2, and then 4. Now rotate this 4x12. We'll cut at 10, 7, and 4. Now gather up the square, and then 2 more rectangles from the top of the stack. Those are a little bit shorter. These both go, all of them, in 3 and 4. And then you have a smaller rectangle we're gonna cut at 2. Now, even for something tiny like this, just take your index finger to hold it down on the clear bar while the blade cuts it. These squares go in 7 and 8. Take the next strip on the stack. So now you can see why the stacking process is really critical to clarity and to our success here. We're gonna trim this one at 10 1/2 and 5 1/4. Stack these up. They're gonna both rectangles the same, go in 5 and 6. And then you have a little strip here. We're gonna trim this one at 1 3/4. Again, just pushing on the corner there works great. Scoot it out of there. Both of these go in 5 and 6. The next strip, if you've lost track, this is 2 3/4 by 12. We'll cut this at 9 1/4, 6 1/2, 3 1/4. Okay, gather up all of the pieces. They're different sizes, and they're going to go in pocket 7 and 8, all of those. And then lastly, we have a strip. This goes in 5 and 6, and remember, file at an angle so you can still see those numbers. And we'll move on to the green. So the advantage here is that all the papers are in a stack in the order that we use them, so that prevents errors and disruption of our flow here. So now we're going to trim this green at 10 1/2 and 6 1/4, And then rotate this piece and cut at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. So now we're making some photo mats here. Both of these go in pocket 7 and 8. And then this piece gets trimmed horizontally. This is the rectangle that fell off the end first rather. And we're going to cut at 6 and 3. All right, these two pieces go in 7 and 8. There is a little piece. We're going to call that a scrap. Okay, we're not going to use it or trim it or anything. All right, now this next one, we're going to trim at 11 1/4, 10 1/2. It's going to make tiny pieces. And then 6 1/4. All right, this larger rectangle and the square, 7 and 8. You have two really narrow pieces. One of them we're using in pocket 7 and 8, and the other I'm just going to call it a scrap. This long strip, 7 and 8. Next, white. We're going to go at 10 1/2, 6 1/4. Again, rotate. We're going to trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. Gather up these two rectangles that match, going in 5 and 6. Then the other skinnier white piece, we're going to trim at 6 and 5 1/4 to create a small piece. All right, so this rectangle now, 5 and 6. And then this piece, 3 and 4. And this little guy, he's a scrap. Grab this larger strip that remains and we'll trim that at 6 1/4. Take the larger one that's going in 7 and 8. And the smallish one, it's still pretty big, that goes in 3 and 4. And now we have this last strip, 7 and 8. Okay. Now, aqua. I'm going to make some narrow strips here. So our first cut is going to be a big number to create a small piece. We're going at 11 3/4. And then 11. 10 1/4. And 6 1/4. Now this is a process we've done twice already, so we're going to repeat it a third time. We'll trim at 8 1/2 and 4 1/4. That gives us those photo mats that are sized perfectly for our 4x6 pictures. All right, so these two rectangles, 3 and 4. And take this other narrower piece. We're going to trim again at 6 and 3. Both of these, pocket 3 and 4. And there's a small scrap that happened there. Next larger strip, we'll trim at 6. Just on the whole number there. Stack these both up, and they're going in 7 and 8. Okay, now we've got these little narrow strips, pocket 3 and 4, and this really narrow strip, 5 and 6. Next up is yellow. This is just the sunniest, happiest yellow ever. We're going to trim this one at 10 3/4, 9, 5 1/2. Rotate. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. All of these go in pocket 5 and 6. And then this last one, 1 and 2, and that little strip. Pick up the next strip. This one's 3 1/2 by 12 right now. Let's see, we're going to cut this at 9, 6, 3. Leave the 3 in there and rotate it so it's now horizontal. Let's cut at 3 1/4 and 2 1/2. Bear with me, please. Okay, so this rectangle, 5 and 6. Every cut has a purpose. I don't mess around. This little strip here, 5 and 6, and you have a tiny scrap that goes in the scrap pile. Then 3 more rectangles also going in 5 and 6. The wider of the 2 strips that remain, 5 and 6 also, and then this one, 7 and 8. So we've finished trimming all the plain papers and printed papers with the exception of the Cutaparts. These are the only scraps you will have when you are done with all 8 pages. I think that's pretty cool. We're gonna make, oh, there's one more here. This other little white one. Don't feel too sad for him. Now, these are the Cutaparts, and if you've done this with me before, you know this information already, so I apologize. But if you look carefully into the corner here, you see some cross hairs, and everything on the outside of that hair or that little mark needs to go away. And when you do that, it's going to make the perfect 12 by 12. I actually just cut through that line, or make sure the line is gone, and that should give you a nice 12 by 12. So just in that first cut, what I typically do is go a little generous. And so I've cut almost to the line as far as I could see, but it's still a little bit there yet. So I'm gonna have to fix that up later, and that's okay. Now, when I rotate the paper this time, I'll be able to see a little bit better at both the top and bottom edges to line them up with the outside of my blade, which I can actually see. You can't on my trimmer, but I can see at the bottom corner. I can see where that little hash mark is aligned with the blade. Rotating again. This time I should be able to look at on the left here to see 12. And if I look on the right, the hash mark is lined up with the blade. And then one more rotation, and then I can finish up that perfect little cut. And one of the other things I love about my trimmer is it's capable of literally removing a hair from the edge of my paper. So I get rid of those scraps and then turn it so that the widest image or the widest thing is on the left. We always follow that protocol so that we can cut the narrowest strips off first. All right, our first trim should land us at 10 3/4. And all of our cuts will land probably on the nearest 1/4 inch, except for a couple on this one for a very specific reason. Then 10 1/4, 9 3/4, 8 1/4, 7 1/4, 5 1/4, and finally 3 1/4. All strips on that one. So what I typically do is just gather up the big pile of strips that landed in the order in which they landed, add that last one on top, and now I can deal them out more easily, kind of like I would some cards. So this wider strip here, 1 and 2. This journaling prompt with the art, also 1 and 2. Oh, and this one as well, 1 and 2. So the first 3 went in there. Then you got this brighter green that's going in 7 and 8. The starfish, 5 and 6. The dots, both of them, 3 and 4, both strips. And sun surf sand, 7 and 8. And that was easy. All right, now we're going to remove the perimeter of this sheet as well. So as always, then I'll start up by taking a little off and then make your way around the edge. Okay, so if I were to ask you which way does this go in the trimmer for our next phase, you would say, well, of course it goes this way because the largest image is on the left, skinny on the right. And our first cut here is going to be at 10 1/2 and 7 3/4 and then 4. Give this a rotation. Make sure life is better barefoot is on the right. We'll go 10 and 6. Okay, this large piece and the smaller one go in 7 and 8. Before we file it, I think I'll go ahead and just clip off those corners from the tag here. I call this the one eye method. So I close one eye and I kind of look at the angle and I try to match the reveal on this side with the reveal here where it meets up with the blade. So by closing an eye, I just can kind of see it a little bit better. And now I have a nice tag shape. Instant tag. All right, both of these go in 7 and 8, as I mentioned. And then life is better barefoot. I'm going to do the one eye again and just lob off those triangular shapes from the corner. and then hit that in 1 and 2. And you may like, no, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to use scissors, or I'm going to use a ruler and craft knife and cutting mat. That's fine, whatever you prefer. Okay, this next one goes in. All this grouping of shells should be on the right, and we're going to start out at 9 1/4, and 6 1/2, 3 3/4. Okay, so the most beautiful thing. And this journaling prompt. Oop, look at that. I got some more corners to clip. Once you get good at it like this, it goes really quick. Both of these go in 3 and 4. And then we've got this other one last shell journaling prompt. I like how those journaling prompts force you to make some notes. That goes in 5 and 6. And then we've got this shell collage here going in 3 and 4. Okay, now this next strip, make sure that the solid block is on your right. That's the smallest. Then it's 9 3/4 here. 6 1/2 and 3 1/4. Okay, so these, there should be 3 the same. They all go in 5 and 6, and then everything is fine when there is sunshine. Also 5 and 6. Now, I don't want you to freak out, but in your kit, you've got these little wood tags. And on the sheet, you have little expressions. Each one of these is 3/8 of an inch so that it fits on the tag. So what you could do, option 1, is just visually slice between them. That's totally fine. What I'm going to do is give you the measurements, and they land on on some 3/8 and some 5/8 and so on. So just bear with me. It's fine. I'm going to this is 11 5/8, I believe is my first cut. Yeah, 11 5/8. Every other one's going to be a nice whole number, whole or close to the 1/4 inch. Then 11 1/4, 10 7/8. 10 1/2, 10 1/8, and 9 3/4. Then 9 1/4. Okay, so at this point you've got this band here. It has pointies, and what I did was used a craft knife and ruler and cutting mat to cut from here to 1/8 of an inch from that point, and then back down again to give it a nice clean cut. That's, of course, is optional. Scissors works too. Boom, boom. And this is going to go in 5 and 6. Now, all these little pieces, believe it or not, have a home. So, date. That's 5 and 6. Relax. And relax and barefoot. Those are both going to go in 3 and 4. Only, I hope we find them again. Sand and surf, 1 and 2. Seashells and the beach, 7 and 8. And then vacation, 5 and 6. Wow, that's all the trimming and filing required for the entire set of pages, which is really cool. Again, kept our scraps to a minimum. At this point, I'm going to turn to the last page of the instructions, which is page 5. Then look at the bottom. That says layouts 7 and 8. That's where we're going to begin, and we'll work our way backwards to page 1 without adding any adhesive or any embellishments, really. Then you can work from 1 to 8 on your own, gluing everything down, working with your ruler, you know, taking your time, working at your own pace. You don't need to help me. You don't need me to help you glue things down. So get rid of the trimmer. And then this isn't designed to stand up on its own without the trimmer. So I'll set that on the side and clear away my space directly in front of me. And stack up the entire remaining paper that we've sorted out earlier. Now, take the top sheet and slide it to the right, and then in front of you then should be 2 12x12s, the bottom of page 7 and 8. Now, if you look in your instructions, you can confirm that now, if you look in your instructions, you can confirm that the short print and the aqua print should be the bases for 7 and 8. Those are the first 2 ingredients listed in the instructions. So There we go. Now, it's tempting to empty the first pocket, but we're going to empty pocket 7 and 8. And my hope is that everything in here is what is seen on this page. And I see we do have an extra little blue strip from a previous project. And I'm going to reach way down in there to grab those tiny little things. Okay, so typically when I distribute the pieces, I got a handful here, but I'm going to try to hold it in my hand so I can deal more easily. Now I see some pretty large green photo mats on the lower right corner of this strip. Before that, let's do some anchoring here. So take the white strip, the larger white strip, and that's pretty close to the bottom. Then I think it'll nest yellow. And then our little green title that says every day should be a beach day. There you go. There's your triple nested bottom anchor. Now you've got your larger green mats here. And they should nest with 2 of those aqua colored mats. And they fit right inside with a perfect reveal on all 4 sides. Now on the right, we're going to take our larger white, but that vertical, and then the other big green mat that you have in there. And then the green should nest with this tag that says high tide or low tide, I'll be by your side. I guess there is a nested strip behind that, so let's go back to that again. It should be green with the surf, sun, sand, and I kind of have this hidden underneath here a little bit. And then 2 square teal should fit nicely in the remaining space across the top, and these are going to stack. That's so bad, right? Now here, if you have the green, the larger green piece, and that should nest with when in doubt, vacation. Amen to that. Okay, and then 2 teal right here. Okay, now here we go with some green rectangles, and the teal should nest with them. This guy, this is going to be a mat for one of these tags, and you can see it's not quite the right size. That's no problem. Just cut a little V into the tail end of one side, and that will fit, and you can slide that. I guess that goes in between here. Forgot about that. He just fits right in there. Make sure he's not falling off the edge, and so on. You'll have to pay attention when you're putting your glue down so that you know which order things should go, so you don't, mess that up. And then we can cover that with the seashells word. And then the same thing kind of happens with this other green strip. So we'll give that another little point. Again, scissors, craft knife, cutting mat. Your preference is fine. That will nest with the beach. And you can add some jute to the beach tag, and then that slides, so any excess can slide underneath the mat there as well. Now, do you see on this tag, there's the shadow of an anchor. This shadow is actually designed to perfectly fit onto the existing goodie that we've included to make it look like it's appearing more off the page. And if you want to make it even more pronounced, you can, you see how it's naturally creating a shadow here from my light? It's the little things, right? I did add some foam adhesive to mine as well. Okay, I think it's time to show you finished pages so we can talk about embellishments. So on this side, again, I used the jute. Now, of note, I work with what I'm given. So when it came down to the 2 full yards of jute, I used quite a bit of it. So just be mindful, if you want to have the jute where I have it, use it sparingly, because in the end, I didn't have much by the time I got to the first page. So just keep in mind, here, just, don't use more than you have to. I got a little tiny bow topped onto this tag. It looks really super sweet. Then I used our bookbinding glue dispensed from a needle tip applicator to attach these little gems. Now, what I've noticed is they do have a little bit of a dome shape, very, very slight dome shape from the back. So what I typically do is add that adhesive all around the perimeter first, and then I just add a little in the middle too, just so it makes good contact. And once you do that, it's not going anywhere. Okay, so that is page 8, then page 7. One more gem here to balance things out because they're on the other side. And then you can see my jute top tag here, and everything worked perfectly. I just want to point out too, my flaw in these pages. Initially, my plan didn't work out as I'd wanted, so I cut this paper on accident, and I didn't want it cut. So all I did was adhere it back together from the other side, and I was able to use it without replacing it. So I just want to, you know, if you mess up on your cuts, just take the two pieces that would have been together and tape them back together, and you can use washi tape if you prefer, and use them. That's precisely what I did in this situation, and in a few others on these pages. Okay, so now with the pieces sort of placed, we're not going to glue them down. We're just going to slide, because gluing is the next step in that process. Slide this over. Don't worry about things sliding around. And then slide again, and that'll give us the base for pages 5 and 6. So I've got it all arranged when we did that pre-sort, so this would work out. Now everything's going to come out of a pocket labeled 5 and 6. And since we do have all those little tiny things, make sure you really inspect your pocket to make sure it's emptied. You know, another option would be just to not file those little guys in. Just grab them when you need them. And to distribute from the hand again, I think would be the best. This time maybe I will start out with some borders to make sure I get those distributed first. So bright yellow, don't be too nervous about how bright it is. It's gonna be really tame by the time I'm done. That gets nested with some starfish, and then to the right of it I'm adding what I call a paper ribbon of aqua, just to incorporate another color in there. Now I do have a full 12-inch strip to work with of the teal, and that does get nested with this partial strip. So once you get rid of the points on this, then get rid of the point on the right edge of here as well to match that chevron shape. Okay, so two larger white mats are going to go here. I have them tilted, so just make sure that you avoid the tangent. And a tangent would be if these points touch each other, or if the point corner of this layout, or this photo mat rather, touches the edge of the page. That's a tangent here, here, and here. So to avoid a tangent, I raise one higher and one lower and overlap slightly and avoid the edge. So it looks really nice, and you don't have anything weird going on here with that from a design perspective. All right, then across the top, we should be able to find 3 rectangles. Let's see here. I think I got them. 1, 2, 3. So once you get those placed, then you know where this goes. And then they're going to be 3 of these Cutaparts. You got the starfish, you've got the Adirondack chair, and you should also have a beach day keeps the doctor away. Now above that beach day, I have attached with jute some of that wave charm. A loop on each end works pretty cool with that. And then the little date, I got that going on here, and then I have some yellow ribbon in a 4-part bow embellishing that area here. Now horizontally along the bottom on the left, add a yellow mat nested with white, really makes it pop. Then you're gonna have a tag, and I stapled some yellow ribbon on top as well to carry that through. 2 yellow mats vertically at the top, nested with teal. So again, the yellow just pops everything off that page and adds some great contrast. Another smaller yellow should nest with this guy. I do have it slightly overlapping just for some nice effect there. This yellow piece here should be just about the right size. Add your little arrow and top it with vacation and some jute ribbon. And I'm gonna spot that right over here. Finish it off with 2 tiny little pieces. Those don't have to have photos, or sometimes what I do is I take one photo, like a sunset photo is great, just crop out the sun. And for the small squares, I always use my square. So I bring my square to the paper. It's really glary, so it's hard to show this. And I can see that it's 1 3/4 by 1 1/2. Now in my instructions, I give you the size the photo needs to be to fit in that spot. And that size is always going to be the nearest 1/4 inch less. But what I do, and if you're up for it, I typically go 1/8 less than the actual mat, because it's such a small thing already. I don't want to cut it down to 1 1/2. I can do 1 5/8 by 1 3/8. And that's how I know what size my picture needs to be. Then I take my grid over to my picture and I go, if I cut it at 1 5/8 by 1 3/8, I don't lose anything important. So I know I can crop my picture to that measurement. I hope that made sense. That's typically how I do all of my finishing work. I just hover with square and get that measurement, and then I bring it over to my photo to double check. So it's just, I can get the width and the height at the same time on both the mat and then the photo. And again, if you have your instructions handy, just look at the numbers. I've already calculated that for you. Okay, finished pages from that set. Let's go over those. Here we have the 4-part bow. Now, a 4-part bow is the same assembly as a 3-part bow, and I do have a ribbon basics video that you can find on our website. And so it's just, you add an extra loop that's a little larger than the first loop. And I made that, oh, I don't know. Let's see how long that is. That is 7.5 inches wide, the ribbon from end to end with the little V cut. And even the V cut helps carry through what's happening on the previous page here with this. Okay, so it mimics that look. Then you got your stapled ribbon here. You got your little wood tag fitting perfectly, a little shell embellishment. And yeah, that's it. That's it for those 2 pages. Fabulous. Now I'm going to take this base and just slide it on over. And then we're going to go to a pair of green and then go to the previous page in our instructions to find layout 3 and 4. And guess what pocket? We're already at pocket 3 and 4. Fabulous. Pull all that out of there. And I'm going to begin with the torn pieces. So I'm going to use this as some sky. And that's going to go right flush with the top edge on the right page. And then I've got this sand going flush with the bottom edge of the left page. Across the top here, we can just go ahead and add that. 1, 2, and 3. If you want to reassemble the print as it was, that's fine. Whatever you think. Let's see, right below that, I'm going to do a dotty border. So I'll add that here with the aqua strip. And then you don't end up seeing much of it. I could have maybe moved it, but that goes down over here to complement that. 2 horizontal aqua mats will be anchored by this. And then you've got a journaling prompt that's going to go out to the right here. It also gets matted. That's right. I have a teal mat for the prompt. There's another rectangular teal that can go with the shell collage here. And then a square teal that goes with the green cut apart. A vertical white right here. Then you've got your long strip. You'll end up cutting off some of it, but that goes there with the word relax. It's probably still in the pocket. Yep, it is. Relax. Boop. And then I think I have the word barefoot pairing up with this other tag, and then the white strip, again, cutting that to the desired length as needed. And I didn't want you to have to cut it at first. Just take scissors and just chop off. It's not needed. Oh yes, there are these really cool, I love these metallic anchor laser cuts. I have that sitting underneath here. And 2 little photos in the sand. Oh, when our project comes together, it's so wonderful. So this is the right side. Again, I got my jute top, and this is where I ran out of jute, my friends. All I did was tie it on. I didn't have enough, and I gotta say, I did end up wasting some earlier, so this is just foresight I'm giving you. I mean, you can get away with a minimal amount just to add a little accent to that. Here, I glued the shell directly on top of the printed shell, and then I tied 2 tiny little jute bows to the sides of the loops, basically, on that starfish charm. On this one, I have a notch I punched into this tag, and I just picked up a notch punch so that I could thread it with ribbon. If you haven't seen it already, this is my notch punch, and I picked it up on Amazon. It's actually designed for badge holder. So if you search like badge holder punch, it'll pop up. It's like 15 bucks on Amazon. I was going to try to carry them for you, but yeah, I can't find them to where it's any better of a deal for anyone. So grab it on Amazon or wherever you find your badge holder punches. It's a fun way to attach a journaling prompt with some ribbon, and I just wrap it around to the back. On this side, you can see just it's pretty straightforward. I did center the opening on the die cut with one of the holes in the strip. And then there's my little teal colored banner with the point cut overlaying on top of that die cut anchor. Now time to slide into home plate with our very last double page spread, which will allow us to empty our final pocket. Once again, making sure that you have every last tiny little piece. Hopefully it's in there somewhere. I don't see anything else. Okay, let's distribute some. Let's start with our torn pieces again. Oh, rather, I'm going to start out with this guy. Dance with the Waves. He's going to go right pretty dang close to the top edge, but not quite. And then right below that, I'm going to find this piece that has the straight edge. And then this larger piece is going to go here on the right. And then the smaller one's going to go here. It looks like oh, that's right. I remember. I did overlap this a little. You're going to have to do the same. So that lines up just shy of the bottom. And then scoot this so that it's just shy of the top, and it will overlap. It will overlap this piece a little bit. I feel sorry for people who don't watch the video because you can miss that fun fact. They're gonna say, what's going on here? Sorry about that. Okay, now we've got some other artwork to add. Here we have this strip with the journaling prompt. I'm gonna put that on the left. Oh, there we go. And then this kind of goes here within that print. Two vertical. Oh yes, there are two different sizes here. Let's make sure we have the right sizes. Okay, the larger or the smaller ones, the skinnier ones, are going to go across the top of the right side. 1, 2, 3. And because we trim them a little skinnier, do you see how they're going to equalize? They're going to be nice spacing between all three. Then the other two larger ones go here, and then one goes here. The little tag is going to get a starfish, and then our last wood tag has its yellow mat with sand and surf tucking behind here. Okay, now I've got a couple things with ribbon on this page I'll point out, but on the right side, oh yes, just the wave charm added to this with glue. At that point, I really just didn't have any jute left, and I didn't think I needed it anyway, so I glued him on. It looks pretty cool. Here I did add a jute with a little extension on it, so if you skip that, maybe you have enough. I don't know, you'll probably have enough. I just wasn't using it very sparingly at all. Then on the other side, I did use my notch punch again. You can recreate that same effect just with the hole punch or with a craft knife and cutting mat. And you can see that I ran the ribbon underneath and through, underneath this border strip and around to the back. Down at the bottom here, I just made a basic bow. Again, that's covered in my Ribbon Basics video. And the rest of that's pretty straightforward. So, and again, this does overlap here, so just make sure you just allow a little bit of space for the sun to shine on that layout. So again, that's 1 and 2. That is it. I'm taking this piece and sliding it over, and then you can gather your adhesive and work your way down, or if you need to complete that later, just close up your instructions, add any remaining unplaced embellishments for the top, and add that all back to the bag for later. Now, if you'd like to go to crops, wouldn't it be fabulous to show up at a crop with this far? And all you have to bring is a bunch of pictures, your adhesive, a couple odds and ends like a stapler maybe, and I don't know, some tape and scissors. That's really all you're gonna need. Oh, and lots of adhesive. There you have it, Shoreline Page Kit Assembly Workshop. It's been fun hanging out with, but I imagine you being there with me because I'm really all alone here at the office. Everyone's gone home for the day. But I do enjoy this because I do just imagine you making it with me, and I imagine you being successful with this totally efficient method. So thanks for coming. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or leave a nice comment. I'm always encouraged by those. And I look forward to seeing you at another Page Kit workshop soon. See you later. Bye.